not the same. And hello, everybody. Welcome to WD Carousel of Podcast. My name's Crystal.
And I'm Ian.
And I forgot that I was going to be introducing the show after we just talked about it.
It's fine. This is the day we're having, and we're just going to roll with it.
Yeah.
It's all good.
But the new song is weird, guys.
We're still working on it.
We're trying to get used to it.
If you have,
if you have better suggestions on what fits our
style
vibe better.
It has to be like, not copyrighted, or if it is, we can easily buy a copyright license for it, and it's not expensive, so good luck with that.
And on that note, today we are going to be going over another extinct Disney ride.
Yes, we are. More recently. Actually, it's gone extinct twice, kind of, but anyway.
Yes.
And this is one of my absolute all-time Epcot favorites.
So hold on, pause real quick. Not really for the actual pausing, but have we only done extinct rides in Epcot?
No. Well, define ride. Because I think the only other extinct ride we've done was Horizons. And then before that, we've done Discovery Island. Did we do Discovery Island?
Yes, we did do Discovery Island.
Discovery Island.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
It's not.
I was like, wait.
Only Epcot.
The only one that I'm remembering right now is Horizons.
Right. I will say though, Epcot is just kind of full of it. So
well, it's Disney.
It's Disney.
I mean,
yeah.
And Epcot's the one that has sadly been dying the most.
It's had a lot of changes, and we've also I think we've talked about those too a little bit, the changes that they're making and stuff. And
yes,
I think a lot of them will be for the better, but we'll see how that goes. But today
on this episode of WD Carousel of Podcast,
today we talk about the Universe of Energy Pavilion, which is not necessarily the name of the attraction because that changed anyway. But it was one of the original Epcot pavilions.
Yeah, it was one of the few opening day attractions that they actually had.
Right. And it is kind of a technological marvel, even in the very first iteration. But again, like you said, it was opening day, so it was October 1st, 1982 is when it opened. And it is basically, as like all of the other, pavilions, they all have some sort of theme.
It was one of the educational pavilions.
Right, because that was the whole...
So there was the land, there was World of Motion, there was Universe of Energy. It was Epcot trying to be informative and fun, and this is where we got into the Universe of Energy. Fun fact, this is one of the few pavilions that, while they were trying to finalize Epcot, since the requirements for the building and what their concept was doing, this is the only one that they didn't move around Future World.
To make it fit properly?
Yes. So other ones had been other locations or turned or this or that, but they had specifically not touched Universe of Energy just because of the next fact that you have on.
Yes. Looking ahead. The really, because we were talking about the how unique the building was and how much of a kind of a technologically advanced structure it was. The whole thing was just one giant solar cell. It was 80,000 individual solar cells covering they call it photovoltaic cells. It's a solar cell covering the entire building, which was able to partially power the ride vehicles. It wasn't able to do...
What they say, 20% or something like that?
And, the ride vehicles were pretty big, so it was kind of cool that it was capable of doing that, but angle of the sun was important, so it also...
Which is, again, why they didn't move or mess with the building too much.
And so you can see the building, and I'm sure we'll post it. The building itself is kind of a funny kind of shape that's hard to explain.
It's like the
kind of flat trapezoid
cartoon picture of a diamond. So with the big point, and then it kind of flattens up at the top. And my fingers are totally not doing this justice, but they are at a 45-degree angle. The flat of the rooftop is, so that way it can have all of those solar panels stacked up onto it.
Yes.
And I believe they're still there to this day.
Are they still there?
I believe so. For Guardians, I saw them come down, but I thought I saw them
going
back up.
My understanding is that they had pulled them, but maybe they're gonna. I mean, they have a unique look, and it isn't totally not what they're doing with it, because they're, and we'll get there, but they are incorporating some of that into the thing that's replacing
jumping
it.
ahead.
Yeah, jumping ahead. So the other thing that's kind of one of the other reasons I found the ride so amazing was it utilized it had a lot of films in it. But not only that, but large format. So we're talking 60 or what they call 70 millimeter films. Whereas, if you're in a theater and if you were in a theater before the year 2007 anyway, you would see movies mostly on what they would call, it's a 35 millimeter film stock, standard 35 millimeter film stock. But if you're in IMAX or something like that, it would be 70. So they did a lot of that, some big multiple screens, these large format kind of films, which made it for a really interesting experience.
Well, and they also had them on varying, like projecting on various
types of things.
Yeah. So like the entrance show, the starting show
was get there. I have a thing. I'm gonna get there. I have segway. I know. I have a plan. Okay. And the other thing too, kind of generically about the ride, ExxonMobil or Exxon at the time had sponsored up until 2004. So from 82 to 2004.
Which I thought was really interesting. Yes, I'm jumping back in here, dang it.
No, that's fine.
They wanted originally this pavilion, the Universe of Energy, to be solar based and alternative energy based, right. And then they got the sponsorship through ExxonMobil, which is a gas company. Yeah, and so then they had to be like, pro fossil fuels,
right. And you can kind of tell in the way, because it's like they had to make kind of some shifts and changed up a little bit, made it kind of like a looking to the future, but in kind of a fossil fuel company friendly kind of way, which is a little compromising, but we'll get there. But so the other thing is this show kind of ran in two main different versions. There's actually a third, but we'll get there.
Lots of we'll get there.
I know. Today. I'm we'll get thereing a lot. I'm just making this big table of contents. So
this is what happens when Ian.
I know. This is what happens when I
does research for the show.
We sit down for the thing. I'm like, I wrote a bunch of stuff for this. So the first version of the show ran from 82 to 96, and so that was and going through the format kind of remains the same to this day. So I'll kind of go through the details of this one.
Not to this day. It's dead.
Just let me live my own fantasy, okay? So the live, like you had alluded to, the pre-show was a live film directed by Czech producer Emil Radek. I'm pronouncing that properly, but he was a pretty well-known director. And he also he kind of was one that pioneered the concept of what they call like the kinetic mosaic. I think that's what they called it. And basically it was these kind of like prisms.
That's what I was going to say before.
Yeah, the kinetic mosaic?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's these, they're kind of like prisms, three sides. Yeah. And so two sides were like normal film screen, silver screen material.
White. And then
whatever
one
they call
it black.
is a matte black that absorb light. So what they could do is they could spin these around using computer control, and it would create this kind of sense of depth and contrast for the video that's being produced. And people to this day say that's one of the coolest effects that Disney ever did. And it was like in the early 80s, and they were using computer control, and they were doing lots of really unique stuff. It was all synced to this live action video talking about kind of like generically talking about like the history of energy and that kind of thing.
Just so everybody at home knows, while he's talking, all that's going through my brain is the theme song as well. So it's like the background noise to everything that Ian's talking about on this ride.
The Universe of Energy theme?
Yes. Yeah. If you guys aren't familiar with that earworm,
give it a YouTube, you'll find it.
Or Spotify. It's on there too.
It's on Spotify too.
It is on Spotify.
I love it. Yeah. So and then funny enough, that's the next note. Energy Make the World Go Round is one of them, and then Universe of Energy is the final one.
Yep. So Energy You Make the World Go Round is the pre-show song, which has such enjoyable lyrics as great. Energy, there is no living without you. And you make the world go round, you make the world go round.
I think it's
thrilling.
Instant classic. I honestly, it's the weirdest thing, but I just love this pavilion.
I know.
So
it's fine.
Once you finish the pre-show with all that fun business going on.
Oh, by the way, guys, this whole ride, if you include the pre-show and everything,
in the original version,
is a 40-minute ride. So there's a reason why we're taking it in these size chunks.
Yeah, we have to kind of break it down
because It is a 40-minute attraction, which I believe up until... I think Rise of the Resistance is still under that. I think Rise of the Resistance is like 25 or something.
Yeah.
So this is the longest show
experience they ever did. I think for Ellen, they shortened it, but I have to double check how much.
They might have, but that's irrelevant at this point.
Yeah, so you've seen this pre-shown, this amazing kinetic mosaic.
That was a 10-minute show.
10-minute show, right? So we're up to 10. It's a little counter. And so from that point, you go into this like theater, this large format kind of IMAX style theater with these weird seated, kind of broken up seated car
If you guys ever rode the Great Movie Ride, may it rest in peace.
Oh,
very similar style seating.
Yes.
So you have these 6 kind of individual cars, but at this point they're all connected. With bench seats.
Yep. So it's kind of like you're sitting in a theater, but the theater's seats are like sitting in vehicles, kind of. It's weird. It's a weird deal, but they were basically battery powered. Slow moving vehicles that were just these huge, the Great Movie Ride, and then they would follow a track, or they'd follow a little wire in the concrete floor, and they would just roll along. Fun fact, if I remember correctly, anything on the ground would totally flummox them. That would be like 90% of the reason that the ride would be broken down is because of that. Anyway, so fun fact there, but they were battery powered.
The first official part of the ride, you are now in the car,
yes,
but you are not moving.
Correct. And you're sitting in this car and you watch it's like stupid long. It's like 15 minutes.
This was only 4 minutes.
It was only 4 minutes?
The hand animated is only 4 minutes.
Okay. So so you do that. You sit down, you watch this hand animated thing, kind of like the history of the Earth, kind of from like a geological perspective and all of that. So that's
again, you have to get into the whole pro-fossil fuels.
So this is
where did they come from?
Right. So then we can at least get dinosaurs involved. So you watch this 4-minute video talking about all of that, and then what they do is all these vehicles, these ride vehicle seating things, are on a big turntable. And it rotates 90 degrees, and then these curtains open, and you just they just take turns rolling off into this track.
They zipper merge very well.
They do. It's very nice. Minnesotans could take a good look at those and see how to do it. But they all just merge in, and they take off down this wire guided path into this diorama, and that takes us to part 2, because that's how we had to break this down.
Yes.
And at that point, you go through this diorama, and it basically, I think there's narration over the diorama a little bit, but I don't know to what degree, because I personally never went through this version of the ride because I was never there.
You were a baby. It was 96.
Would have been the last time I could have gone, and so I don't think we were there ever.
Yeah, because how old would you have been?
2.
Would you have recalled it anyways?
I would have been 3. No, I wouldn't remember that 3 anyway. So anyway, there's no way I could have seen it
in this iteration.
So I don't know for sure if that's what they were doing, but basically you went through this diorama that was kind of, I think it was, I can't remember which period, Cretaceous.
Yes, there were 36 audio animatronics where they actually took influence from the 1964 World's Fair, the Ford exhibit, where also the People Mover unofficially comes from.
Yes.
But the prehistoric world that Walt did for the Ford exhibit
was kind of inspired,
and they brought that over to Disneyland on the railroad.
Sure.
The same animals, the same battle, the same everything went into this ride with duplicates.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have the T-Rex fighting the Stegosaurus, and
right.
the volcano with all the little animals, but there's 36 moving audio animatronics in this, which is actually, for how short this part is
kind of ridiculous. Yeah. So
which is a 12-minute drive through the diorama still.
Right, which is crazy. So
now we're up to almost a half an hour.
This you can see this ride is just, the scope is ridiculous. And so you're going through, you see, in addition to those 36 dinos. Excuse me. What's wrong with me? Then there's also an active volcano, and a swamp, and both of those have smelters attached to them.
Yes, they do.
So you get a swampy smell and a volcano sulfury smell, and
that's
all of that good jazz.
Everybody wants that up their noses.
Of course you do, because that's what you do at Disney. Is you just expect them to blast weird smells up your nose, because that's really what it's all about. Because that's one of the quickest ways to your memory.
Innovations moving on.
So at this point, then you continue now into part 3 of the ride, which you enter into another theater. So
yes, because you didn't get enough visually watching screens yet.
Yes. So then these vehicles very obediently park back into their little parking lot again in a new theater. And this is, I don't think it's quite full circle vision, but it's...
No, I thought it was like...
I think it was like three or four screens.
Yeah. Well, because this is also the mirror area too.
No, that's... you actually continue past it to the mirror area. Yeah, I know. It's so complicated. It's hilarious. So I think it's not...
This was a 10-minute live
video.
Live action video.
Correct. And so this one was, if it's not totally circle vision, full circle setup, it's very close. And it's all about current and future energy resources. And I think this is where they do like a little thing on alternative, like the little nod to like future stuff. And so that's the little guy that you watch then. And then the whole thing lifts up.
Oh, yes.
You drive again into the last theater.
This one's the one with the mirrors.
Yeah, and that's actually the first theater again that you drive into. And then that one is the one with all the mirrors because you're facing that way now.
And that's the one with the theme song that's currently running through my head.
Yes. And then they run the whole thing, and it's this whole crazy, like, weird computer-generated 80s.
It's
like,
the Universe of Energy.
Yeah, so it's all of that. And you do this. Stop! It's gonna be stuck in my head so bad.
And the universe, no copyrights.
Exactly. So anyway, this whole spectacle happens at the end with lasers and mirrors and video and all this fun stuff. And then after that's over, the ride is ended, and then you are able to leave.
You are no longer a prisoner of this
45-minute ride. So, at that point, then they close it down, and it is converted then...
In 1996.
It is converted into...
The spring of 1996.
Correct. It is converted into the Ellen's Energy Adventure.
Crisis.
What?
Ellen's Energy Crisis. That is the first iteration of this.
Is that what they called it at first?
Yes. So, but before we got to that,
I have that. I have it. I'm going to get to it.
So, before we get to the Ellen's Energy Crisis...
Oh.
We're going to talk a little bit
about 1996.
About what happened. Yes, there. Yeah, that's what I was going for.
I know. I was gonna put it between the two, but then I put it at the end, and whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
In the summer of 96, they had set up a they weren't planning to open it.
Yeah, they had closed it. They had already started remodeling the ride,
and they were actually very far into it, and they were not planning to open it for the summer of 96 when they were going to launch it in, I can't remember if it was going to be later in fall or whatever it was when they launched it. I should have written that down, but I didn't.
It waited until 97 to officially open to the new iteration.
So in summer of 96, they realized quickly that they didn't
close too many other attractions.
So World of Motion was going to become Test Track, and that was closed. And Horizons was in its weird, sad, half-dead limbo state, and so they couldn't rely on that. And so basically only Wonders of Life was open, which is like, a little bit. So they were like, what do we do? So they literally took the old ride and just kind of rebooted it into the attraction minus stuff. So the kinetic show, but
you didn't get the kinetic prisms.
The diorama already had Ellen in it, so they had to like
they hid her behind a rock.
So they just they stuck a fake rock in front of her.
And in the ride with Ellen animatronic, they had changed a dino that had originally come out at the cars during the diorama to go and attack Ellen.
Right.
But now there's a huge rock in the way because they're trying to hide Ellen. And so this dino's just attacking
a rock for no reason. Yeah. So that was weird. So it was definitely kind of like a duct tape and bubble wrap kind of job. Like, it was a very weird thing, but they basically like, we don't have enough attractions to keep this viable, so they literally had to just like kind of cripple this down. So all of that happens. They run that for the summer, and then they close it back up again so they can launch the
Ellen's Energy Crisis,
which
only was the title for about a week.
Is it really?
Which is why I brought it up, and you don't have the notes on it. But then shortly after that, it was changed over to Ellen's Energy Adventure,
which is exciting. So the pre-show is, the funny thing about this is the whole attraction follows the same path. It's just content. So
well, and attendance to this ride were going down because at that point in time, either you'd been on it, you had no longer interest in it, nobody wanted to have to deal with a lecture about fossil fuels or anything like that, so they were trying to do a 90s cool
spruce
update
up, hip with the kids,
with some, you know, comedy and little bit of you know, knowledge still in there, but they really wanted to jazz it up.
How do you do, fellow kids kind of moment, trying to get it to be updated, which is fine. But so it basically, the whole concept is following the basic same path. The content has been jazzed up, as it were. So instead of it, so you walk into the pre-show area, and instead of the Kinetic Sculpture, you are greeted with this pre-show video featuring Ellen DeGeneres. Correct. Having a bad, like a nightmare, like a dream about being on.
Not yet.
She's on the.
Not yet.
On the dream yet.
So the first pre-show area talks about Ellen, and Ellen tries to break the fourth wall with the person who gives the announcements, and then sets up thing for, hey, I'm watching my favorite show, and then I'm gonna fall asleep on the couch and have this nightmare, and then,
that's when you're walking in.
Yes.
Right.
And then
it's the pre-show starts with that storyline.
Yes.
But it's all in the same space. Yeah. So she's doing her little thing to lure the audience while they're
and then Bill Nye the Science Guy shows up.
Of course. So basically, she's having this like bad dream about being on Jeopardy, and she's being trounced by her next door neighbor, who also happens to be like, so she's Ellen DeGeneres, but her neighbor is a fictional character named Judy, who's played by a real actress, Jamie Lee Curtis, who could have just been Jamie Lee Curtis and her neighbor and like understood.
Nope, it had to be Stupid Judy.
It has to be Stupid Judy.
And then Einstein as well.
And Einstein
doesn't actually do anything.
No, it's just all Bill.
And Alex Trebek. They still had Alex Trebek.
They had Alex Trebek. Yeah, it was it looked like real Jeopardy, which was pretty cool.
And the Jeopardy categories were all the variances of energies. So they had things like the solar and the water power. They couldn't go hydroelectric. No, water power. And then it goes to fossil fuels, and then it goes to, I mean, but it was weird that they had fossil fuel in there twice. They had like a
of course it did,
gas and oil.
Exxon was all about it.
I know, it was weird. It was weird.
I love it. So it was this weird. It's all a weird dream, really.
And then she loses.
And between
to Stupid
Judy, and between rounds, like Bill Nye just like shows up because of course he does, and so he is like, I'm gonna show you like. I'm going to show you like stuff about energy so you can get the answers you need to win, which is just, everything about it is so bizarre because it's a dream, like whatever.
Yeah.
And so at that point you get into the actual ride again. So just like the other one, you get into your seats, the vehicles, and now you're watching your video at the beginning again. And this time it's now Bill. It's another animated thing, and Bill is talking to Ellen about the beginning of the Earth, and so it's the same concept, but now it's being through this frame story where it's not them just talking to you; it's Bill talking to Ellen about everything. And then at that point, you do the same rotation. You go through the diorama,
which now has a jazzy '90s paint job,
which is so fun, and
neon colors,
and that also includes the.
Ellen
animatronic, and she tries to fight off the Elasmosaurus thing, and it's that whole thing because they took the rock away. Fun fact, though, 2014, a couple of years before it closed, the Ellen animatronic actually broke, and instead of just like fixing it, they removed it and put other dinosaurs right there. So which is probably not boding well for the situation. Anyway, so you do all that. You go through to part 3 again, and you do the wraparound screens, and they do more. It's the same basic concept again, where they talk about
This
current
time,
stuff.
Well, and they'd go into Jeopardy again.
Well, that's in the next theater.
Right, exactly. These wrong.
It's
so many theater
there's that extra theater thing. Yeah. So then you do they talk about current energy stuff, and there's that big radio tower, and it's bizarre. And then you go back into the first theater again, and then she wins Jeopardy against Stupid Judy.
Yes. Because she has to be like, she's like, it is this date within a day or so, right. Alex. Like acting all like,
yes, quite. And then flips her hair. That's the thing. Yeah. So then you go through, she wins, and then you are no longer hostage to the ride again.
And that went until
2017.
Correct.
August. Yeah.
Now, a fun thing.
Yes.
About the very last show. So they actually had decided to close this the same day as the Great Movie Ride, may it rest in peace. The exact same day. And so those diehard Disney people had to make the decision between which one they were going to see the final show of. And they actually had this little corral pen to the side where people were waiting to be able to go on the final show.
Yeah.
So you can have about 350 people, I believe,
per run,
go at a time.
Yeah.
So they usher them all in. They're going through like normal. There's like catcalling back and forth to the screens because everybody knows the words, kind of like you're watching Rocky Horror.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Except for less toast. Right. And then they get into the diorama area.
Yeah.
And then there is a malfunction.
Yep.
Where all of the cars mysteriously break down and they have to do an exit.
An evacuation. They had to walk off, which is crazy because it's just so...
And there's air quotations with this because there's still speculation that this was planned, but they couldn't officially call it planned by Disney.
Sure.
Because Disney doesn't want you taking your time during on-ride evacuations, but they let them wander around the diorama and take photos and take video. Yeah. Like they weren't getting yelled at like I was. And it was a big thing, and they let them wander around there for
a while.
Yeah.
And so the theory being that it was a planned evacuation.
It was a planned malfunction.
Interesting. Yeah. So that was the last day, and it's actually kind of fitting because I think that ride broke down a fair bit.
Yeah.
Because of its weird ride system, which is cool, but weird.
Which is probably how they were able to get away with it, being like, oh no, one more.
Broke.
Somebody dropped a Kleenex on that little wire on the floor.
Is that a single hair? No. It's ridiculous.
But it was announced in D23 back in 2017.
Yes.
That the Universe of Energy as we know it is stopping.
Yes. It is instead being replaced by some Epcot. It is Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, which
it's a roller coaster.
I'm sure it'll be lovely. I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, Disney, their new rides have been amazing that they've been coming out with, the innovations to them, and I mean, it's going to be great, but this is not Epcot as it was originally thought. It is not educational. It is not something where you are learning, growing, loving Epcot. This is IP like already established.
Hollywood Studios kind of moment.
Yeah.
So, and I think that, from what I've seen of other stuff that's happening at Epcot, the other changes, it looks more in line with Epcot stuff overall. This one, though, to me felt very
this is forced. Epcot, I feel, does not need to have that thrill ride of the roller coaster. It doesn't have to have the, Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy overlay for content to get someone to come to a ride. I have my feelings. Everybody else has theirs.
Yep. Absolutely.
I'm not going to ride it because I don't do roller coasters. Which is another reason why I probably am not as happy with the changeover, because now they're putting in a ride I will not go on.
Right. Well, I will let you all know, and I will let you know how it is. I hope it's worth it, though. This one I kind of doubt it because I really did love that ride.
Yes.
Anyway, so
it was a good break during the hot summer day.
Nice 45-minute kidnapping for the guests. You just couldn't go. Air
conditioning, get your feet up, or at least sitting.
Yeah. Exactly. So.
And now the song is still back in my head.
Of course it is. So go Google that, everyone. It's worth it.
And on that note, this has been WD Carousel of Podcast. My name's Crystal.
And I'm Ian.
And we hope you have a great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Bye, everyone.